Tell me when to kick off, and I'm happy to kick off. It's 1 o'clock.
Welcome everybody. You are in the afternoon session of the education track for aMS Southeast Asia. And with me, I have a Microsoft veteran who, as he said, have been hijacked from school ever since by Microsoft. Right? He's been with Microsoft for 21 years. And he is an accomplished musician, though I have to sample, and he's a percussion specialist, right? Perhaps, Amit, you would like to introduce yourself and tell us what you have come to share with us today. Yeah.
Sure. Look, Rico and team from aMS really appreciate the opportunity to be here and be talking to this community. As I said earlier, this is one of my first times engaging with the MVP and the rest of the community. So really excited to be here. So my name is Amit Pawar. I am a director for Modern Workplace covering education across Asia for Microsoft. And my focus really is to talk to customers and partners about how we can help them with their modern teaching and learning requirements and how Microsoft 365 and Windows devices can come together to help them achieve this dream. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a bit of a presentation. I'm not going to go through all the slides that I've got on my deck. I've created the deck in such a way that it can be a self-guided kind of a approach thing as well. So even after this session, you should be able to leverage the deck in a way that will make sense for you to understand how these things come together, where Microsoft 365 and Windows devices come together to help you, transform the way that you're delivering education to your end users. So let's kick off with a video, actually, and hopefully everybody's going to be able to hear this.
Yeah, we can hear.
Once, there was a school that wanted a better way to bring teachers and students together to collaborate, explore, and boost outcomes. Then one day, they discovered the solutions offered by Windows 10, from kindergarten to college to career and beyond. They found that Windows grows with students to help them achieve a wide range of learning milestones, all on one platform. They loved using Windows Ink, a powerful tool that lets them capture ideas quickly and naturally, which fosters creativity, boosts retention, and improves outcomes for everyone. By using Office 365, the school saw how students and educators could collaborate on the same documents in real time, whether they're in the next classroom or the other side of the world. The school was proud to increase productivity and inclusion. With tools built into Office 365 or their Windows 10 device, students with disabilities can communicate, consume, and create content more independently, efficiently, and confidently. The school also became a safer place to learn. With the most advanced security technology, Windows 10 helps protect students from malware and malicious sites. And Windows 10 is compatible with a huge range of devices, as well as next-generation educational resources, like 3D printers and mixed reality. The school could even use Microsoft Intune for Education to simplify deployment and management of PCs, devices, and applications, all through the cloud, so the IT team was able to transform the educational experience while keeping teachers in control. And because Microsoft is committed to improving education for everyone, the school acquired the cloud-based Office 365 education free for the entire school. With all the benefits Microsoft Education provides students, educators, and IT administrators, the school found exactly what it was looking for. It's a great time to be learning.
So that's kind of a very quick summary in about 2.5 minutes of exactly what we are trying to position here, which is, how does Microsoft 365 and the devices come together to help you as educators to enhance the outcomes for your student-centered learning. Now, that can be in the classroom, that can be online, as we are, and that's why the graphic here is actually showing you that the children are using the computers both in person, but also there are kids who are connecting over Teams and being able to participate. We want to make most of the classroom time, right? We want to make sure that you're including everybody in the classroom. And this goes for people who are comfortable speaking in front of everybody, or also those who are less likely to speak or vocalize their thoughts. So leveraging tools like Teams, communication, Yammer groups, and many other tools, we are actually seeing that students who otherwise would not participate start participating, because the way that these tools are designed, it makes it very easy for you to be, vocal about how you want to, communicate, whether it's by text, by video. So tools like Flipgrid enable you to do video, being able to do, emojis and GIFs and all those things. There are new ways of engagement that really are exciting for students, and that's what's really driving the way we are seeing the increased adoption of M365 and Windows in the classroom. And of course, you want this ability to also learn from anywhere, anytime. So we want to make sure that you also are enabling a secure, well-managed experience for these students, which means that the technology fits the way you want to teach and learn rather than the other way around, which means we want to have this ability to manage the devices, secure the devices, make sure that the students get access to the right content, the right teams, and things like that. So what I'm going to do in the next couple of slides is summarize how we are approaching this. Because a lot of times customers ask me, hey, this sounds great, but how is Microsoft approaching this? What we have done is looked at it in three different distinct areas. One is we want to help educators and school systems and school leaders with the framework for transformation. In education, it's not just about buying the latest and greatest hardware or software. It's also about making sure that you have a blueprint in mind where you are helping transform holistically rather than just buying devices and buying M365 or whatever the latest platform out there is. And what we've noticed is, and I heard earlier this morning, the pandemic has actually been a forcing function in a lot of ways for us to make this transformation happen. However, the transformation happened in varying degrees of maturity. Some educators who were exposed to digital teaching mechanisms and pedagogy methods were a lot more prepared for the pandemic. However, those who were caught unaware had to then glue together a solution, which meant, some of it was WhatsApp, some of it was, Zoom, some of it was this, some of it was that. And I'm not, trying to pick on any competitor. They also leveraged Teams. But the reality is there was a lot of siloed tools that were brought together because maybe the educator heard about it from, their friend, or they read about it in some article, or they watched a YouTube video, or whatever it was. There was a lot of, gluing together of various aspects. What we believe is that there needs to be a framework for you to holistically transform education, which starts with things like leadership and policy. You want to make sure that we have the right policy in place so that we are using the right methodologies. The vision for change is there. The strategic planning and change management has been taken into account. So all these things are super, super important when we are talking about a holistic transformation. There is, of course, there is going to be the whole transformation using devices for learning. The curriculum and assessment needs to change when we start talking about remote learning and things like that. If you are going to bring in learning spaces or even teaching spaces, those need to accommodate this new way of digital teaching and learning, which can even impact things like building spaces, furniture in the classroom. All sorts of things start to kind of come to play. So I strongly suggest that you get familiar with the Microsoft Education Transformation Framework, which will help you and guide you with this complexity of transformation. The next area we focused on is really about the actual, how do we make this happen? And the platform comes together to make this happen, which is, as I said at the beginning of the call or the presentation, we are here to help you do things like transformation of the classroom, better learning outcomes, affordable, easy to manage technology. All of that is only possible when you have a strong foundation of identity, security, management, and compliance. And that's what the platform is trying to do with Office 365 and Azure AD and Intune and those sort of things. That really, and you've heard about MCAS and other technologies that enable all of this. But beyond just the technology, we want you to understand that the impact of these are real in the way that you design your curriculum, you design your pedagogy, you design the engagement, you design your assessments. All of that can be then done leveraging all of these tools, which are included in Azure and the Power Platform and GitHub. And of course, LinkedIn has been a very key thing for higher education, vocational education, from a jobs and careers perspective. How do we make sure that we are preparing our students to meet the requirements? And LinkedIn is a great way to kind of assess what are the requirements in the market, because that's where jobs have been created. That's where professional networks have been created. Dynamics has been leveraged a lot in terms of actually creating that whole enrollment and onboarding and finance management, and those sort of things are really coming together. But for today's conversation, we're going to be focused in mainly on the M365 side. So in this conversation today, we will talk about that and talk about how that impacts your teaching and learning. Finally, I want you also to think about, to kind of complete this story, we need to help our educators with the right level of proficiency in terms of their ability to leverage all of these tools to create the relevant training and inspirational classroom activities that they can confidently implement in the classroom. We want them to have this, readiness, and that is available for you to access for free. If you go to education.microsoft.com, every educator should be part of this community if you're going to be leveraging our platforms, because that's where we teach you how to use the tools in an education context. So education.microsoft.com is not about becoming proficient in the tool, but how do we become proficient in the use of that tool in the context of teaching and learning. So that's become a really key enabler. So when we bring all of these three components together, from the ETF to the platform to the readiness and the community built around it, we feel that we are giving you a very comprehensive approach to enable that modern classroom experience. And if there are any questions about this, I would love to kind of address them as we go, or if you have time later on for Q&A, we can address them there as well. Now, the rest of the presentation, I've created it more like a website or something like a toolkit that you can use during your own conversations. So I introduced you to the approach we're taking. Now let's introduce you to the way that we're doing it. So we want to create this toolkit in a way that you can actually use it in a meaningful way, because we recognize that education sector needs technology like never before. COVID-19 proved one thing, that what we've been saying and what the tech industry has been talking to education sector for a long time became a reality overnight when we were all shut down and had to find innovative ways of continuing our teaching and learning for the students. So this is something that we truly believe in, and we want to make sure that you are ready with this. So here's the toolkit that kind of is designed with this. So we've kind of made this a little more interactive, and you can use this as it goes. So let's just kind of think about it. For this hybrid learning, teaching and learning solution, what are the components? The components here are the right device and the right platform. And when we talk about the device, we are talking about Windows 10 Pro and now Windows 11 Pro for education. These are operating systems. And by the way, there is a specific edition of Windows specifically designed for education. There is no other operating system that has been designed from the ground up with education in mind, because it's been designed to make sure that we enable a hybrid learning experience which supports the interactivity that you need from a perspective of running all the apps, all the websites, all the apps, whether they are full desktop apps or whether they are touch-based apps or whether they are web apps. We want to give you a wide range of devices that meet your requirements. As you probably are familiar, Windows has always had a very rich ecosystem of devices, right from low-end notebooks right up to your desktops, workstations, and beyond. And that also now includes form factors like 2-in-1 detachable, 2-in-1 convertibles, and others. So we are meeting you where you need us to be, whether you're in K-12, whether you're in vocational, whether you're higher ed or beyond. We really want this to be a continuum of experience with Windows devices throughout your learning time. And of course, we want this to be a safe, secure environment as well. So security is built right in, compliance capabilities are built right in, that can then marry up with Microsoft 365 for education. Of course, we also want to encourage you to look at devices that are designed for education, that have pen capabilities, that are ruggedized, that have better connectivity or have long-lasting battery lives and things like that. So those are key in the way that we are also designing the devices specifically for education. And there are TCO studies or total cost of ownership studies that show that when you choose the right device for education, you end up with lowering the cost of running that technology. Because traditionally what has happened is people have gone onto a online store and just bought the first available Windows device. We strongly encourage you to really talk to your OEMs, talk to your hardware partners to think about what is the right device for education. And I'll talk a little bit about the capabilities and the features in later slides. Similarly, to go with the device is great until you are not, until it's just a device for device sake. We need it to be connected to an environment that enables you to use, collaborative platforms like Office 365, Teams, and others, right? So that you can have that seamless communication, collaboration, and creation. We fundamentally at Microsoft believe that the whole notion of education stems in the concept of creation rather than just consumption, because consumption can be done on many different devices, but taking the consuming content from the internet or from various sources, synthesizing and creating something out of it is really, really important for our students to have a better teaching learning outcome and to come out with the skills that are required for them to be employable. The other thing is Microsoft Intune has been designed for education as well. There is a particular edition of Microsoft Intune that has been simplified and managed for education. So you can have this cloud-based mobile device management experience that streamlines your deployment of the device and the ongoing management of the device. And it works well with Windows Autopilot and Azure Active Directory. So from a technology perspective, it's a completely seamless, integrated experience for the IT pros in your schools as well. So let's look at this a little bit more in depth. So typically when I talk to education institutions or to school leaders or to ministries of education, they all come to us and say, hey, we want to buy every student or device, or we want them to have some kind of a device experience. Tell me what I should get. And yes, I agree that is one of the components. And if you look back in my slides, you'll see that devices for education is one of the components of the education transformation framework. Unfortunately, it takes a bulk of the conversation when we go in to talk with our educators. We need to really think about how does this device fit in the context of everything else that is happening, which includes, hey, how do I make sure who is getting access? So we want to integrate with your existing student management system, your learning management system, and make sure that we have a sense for a authoritative list of users who need to have access to this environment. That's the only way we can secure you, by creating a digital identity that reflects you as a student, you as an educator or a school leader or IT person that's supporting this environment. And we do that by leveraging your current data stores, and we create those users inside Azure Active Directory using School Data Sync. If you're not familiar with School Data Sync, I strongly suggest you become familiar with it. So if you go to sds.microsoft.com, you will find that this is a free service which allows you to bulk enroll and bulk import all of your students from your student management system into Azure Active Directory. It will create the users, it will put them in the right teams, because we know which teacher is teaching which student, and that way we can create a relationship and put those students and teachers into the right team. Because in most education institutions, we are talking about hundreds of thousands of teachers, thousands of teachers, hundreds of thousands of students, and obviously hundreds of thousands of devices that go along with it. To manage this kind of relationship between the student, teacher, and the device, and the policy and the settings and those things that go on those devices, we needed to design a cloud service that enables you to kind of create these AAD users from that user database and put them into the right groups. I strongly suggest you get familiar with SDS, which is School Data Sync. Of course, once you're in Azure AD as a user, we can enable all the foundational services like email, like storage, like device management, security, and others. Those are kind of foundational services. But beyond the foundational services, we want to then enable those experiences for your students. So they can take advantage of M365 apps. They can take advantage of Teams for education, which has built-in classroom flow and workflow and collaboration capabilities built right in. So you can do assignments, you can do grading, you can do all of that from within Teams. You can do things that are evolving over time with things like reading progress to be able to assess how well students are reading. So M365 is really getting very specialized for education. It's not your standard version of M365 that is available to your commercial tenants, but this has been designed from the ground up for education requirements. Of course, Edge as a secure, fast browsing experience with built-in technologies like immersive readers and others are very, very key. OneNote has been designed with the classroom notebook in mind. So that allows you to have online and offline access to your curriculum content, your homework, your quizzes, your notes, all of that, both text-based, handwritten, audio, video, all of that can be embedded into OneNote. So OneNote really starts to become this all-in-one kind of tool. As the name suggests, in the education context, it's very similar and analogous to the way we used to use analog books and notebooks in the past. So that's how we are leveraging OneNote Class Notebook as a means to kind of create this very easy to approach I suppose, compendium of all the content that our students need to make sure that they can do their teaching and learning. Microsoft Whiteboard, I think there was a session earlier that talked about it. This is becoming much more popular in the recent days as there has been remote learning and teaching happening. So Whiteboard just got updated last week. So I think that's exciting in terms of its capabilities are expanding. The other thing that is part of M365 is perhaps the most popular game out there today, which is Minecraft for education. Now, we've taken the opportunity to create an education-specific version of Minecraft that allows you to control that learning experience. You as educators can set policies and boundaries as to how this, I suppose, immersive 3D world can be used to teach key concepts. And when we are investing in all of these technologies, we also want to make sure that it's future-proof and also enables you to take advantage of capabilities in the platform for things like coding. So Visual Studio Code for STEM subjects has become very, very popular in schools as well. So this is how we see the ecosystem of the Windows devices and M365 coming together to enable you to kind of take advantage of it. The last two things I want to bring to your mind, I mentioned the education community for professional development and training, which is actually moving to the Microsoft Learn platform. So if you're familiar with the Microsoft Learn platform, education.microsoft.com will be merged and be expanded into the Learn platform very, very soon. So I just want to make sure that you're aware that there is a future roadmap for our professional development and training as well. And lastly, once we have started using these technologies together, guess what? You end up creating a lot of data about the usage, about the relationships, about the communication, about the collaboration. So I think of it as M365 plus Windows devices coming together are like a Fitbit for education. You know who is talking to who. You know when a student is logging on. You know when they are creating and putting in their assignments. You know what grades they are getting, which is no different to what happens when we are tracking our steps and our heart rate and other daily activities on a fitness tracker. I see that similar things being done through apps like Teams Insight app that enables a educator to get a view of how their students are communicating, collaborating, and the impact of all of that to their grades. The impact of them coming on time to the classroom in a Teams call. So taking attendance and seeing how that relates to their grades. Being able to correlate that data with all of the other demographic information that may be available for that student. We've actually seen that, of course, demographics, mental health, all those things kind of play towards the successful outcome for a student. So being able to monitor all these different parameters really is becoming a very powerful tool for making sure we leverage the technology in a meaningful way. Doing what we were doing with the paper and pen in the classroom and just putting a computer instead of the paper and pen is not the definition of education transformation. When we are able to use the technology to give us insights which otherwise would not have been possible, I think is a really great start towards that education transformation. And of course, Azure Synapse and Power Platform will then enable you to get even better insights when we can combine other tools, your LMS, your other inputs towards how successful the student is in their education journey. I'll take a pause here to see if there are any questions, because I just wanted to make sure that this one slide kind of gives you an overview of how this hybrid teaching learning experience kind of fits together. Rico, if you have any questions coming up in the chat or anything that comes to your mind?
No, not really. I think everybody, I'm the one who is the most noisy. Just now, earlier, you had that website. Are you going to share that website with us?
Which website?
The tool that you had earlier, it was a website, right?
Oh, you're talking about School Data Sync?
Yeah, the one that had all the connections, all the devices and stuff like that. The earlier one.
Which?
This one. This is it. This one. Sorry.
This, yeah.
No.
So these
not
this one.
Then the next one. This one.
Yeah. So yes, this is the slide deck. The slide deck actually is designed so you can, if you want to learn about each of the components, we can just click on the components. We can go to Windows.
This is your slide deck. Okay.
Yes.
I thought it was a website. Wow.
No.
You're gonna share this with us, right?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay.
So this is what I wanted everyone to understand, that we want to make sure that you understand how this all fits together. So this is kind of like a website. It's like hyperlinks within PowerPoint.
Oh, okay. I thought it was a website you published.
I'm glad you did, because that is the intention. The intention is that this will be the whole interactive PowerPoint is what I want to have you take. You can have access to all of this.
This takes a lot of work.
Yes, it does. Yes, it took me a lot of work to make this hyperlinks work. Yes. But anyway, I think it's a good way of you to kind of follow and read like a website, right? And take it on.
It's really nice, because I was also confused that it's a kind of website before.
It's not a website. This is a PowerPoint. I'm still inside PowerPoint.
Okay. Fool me. You got me.
That's nice.
Good. I'm glad I'm able to still get people with my PowerPoint skills. Yeah, it does look like a website. In fact, it could become a website later on.
Yeah. In fact, this is one of the main things that I find that I see a lot of schools, they are not taking advantage of Imagine Academy, especially the licenses, because that would provide them with a thing. I think most people will be very happy to offer a certification on Google or AWS, because it's different. Whereas Microsoft is like assume that everybody is really knowing of Microsoft.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you, and that's why I've put in the Learn platform here, because Learn is the platform where we are bringing all of this together, right? Where it's not just the skills-based learning, but also we're bringing together your certification information on the one site. So I think it's important for our attendees to understand that don't assume that your kids are going to, which is what's happening in a lot of schools, high schools especially. When I speak to a lot of universities, they're telling me, hey, look, they're learning tools that are not used by the real world. Now, as a simple example, in Singapore, 100% of our education institutions in the higher education space are using M365. However, students are coming in leveraging other platforms, and they are having to adjust in usage of the M365 platform. So what my message here is that, don't think about this as, one platform is good for K-12 and one platform is good for higher education. We are designing our tools so that it can have that continuum from K-12 through to higher education to job and then lifelong learning. Because I think what is important here is that the tool needs to fit the requirements of a wide audience. And we don't want our ambition of the student to be constrained by the tools. We want the tools to be bettered by the ambitions of our students, right? And where Excel becomes the best way for you to do data analytics, or Power BI is the best way for you to do your data visualization and manipulation. That's the philosophy in which we are coming here with, right? And then you leverage things like Visual Studio Code and other things to expand and grow the capabilities of what the platform already is capable of. But then you can leverage your own imagination to take advantage of all of these services and make that better. So I completely agree with you, Rico, that we need to do a better job of informing everybody that, hey, yes, we know there are other platforms for you to choose, but here is the platform that is the most comprehensive, bar none. Simple things like, being able to do things like class notebook offline. So if you're in a country where internet is not always available, we need to make sure that, students are included without this requirement to be, in this always connected environment, which even in the developed market is not always possible, right? Depending on your demographic and your current conditions. So we really want to think about how this fits together, both in offline, and that's why I've used the words online, offline a lot on this slide, because that is something that a lot of our education institutions kind of take the path of least resistance to buy devices and platforms that seem to be easy and seem to be approachable. But then in the long term, when you think about how equitable they are, how accessible they are, they're not always there if you do have an online requirement in that space. So I want us to kind of think through this whole thing in that holistic ETF framework way, which is the education transformation framework.
One of the problems which I feel is that familiarity breeds contempt. Mm-hmm. Everybody assumes that you know Microsoft Office, for instance, but yet I can tell you, having done it for so many years, I realized that there are differences. And because I've trained my son, right? And when he showed his PowerPoint skill sets, he was sent to 4 countries, all paid by the company, just to teach people how to use PowerPoint.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that. It's just like just now the site that you showed is a perfectly example. To the untrained eye, it looked like a website, but it's actually PowerPoint, right? Yeah. And they are, like I say, I know how much work it is to do something like this. And he goes around for one of the leading consulting company in the world, and he goes around teaching people how do I build this kind of deck, because it's in change technology adoption. Yeah. But but the point is that a lot of these things, there are a lot of wrong ways to use PowerPoint.
Yes.
And the problem is that the majority of people do not know that assume that everybody knows PowerPoint. And
correct. And that's to your point, you're right, because if I asked all the people on this call whether you can say you've got Microsoft skills as on your resume, probably most of you will say yes, right? I hope so. But at what level are you your proficiency will and your maturity with the use of the tool will depend, right? So really want you to be all of us to take advantage of the content that's been made available, right? There's a whole bunch of content available already to make this journey possible for you. So if you want, I mean, I can easily jump out of this whole presentation mode and get into more of a show and tell mode, because to be honest, a lot of times when we talk about these things in slides, it can be a bit misleading. But when you guys see it in person, you'll appreciate what we're trying to do here. For example, you saw the education.microsoft website. That has got more content on getting things, like getting started with Office 365. We will teach you exactly how to use everything. And this is courses that are available right for you for free, right? So a lot of the times we are actually just encouraging people to go in and say, hey, look, what is the start menu? What's the action center? Like, what is the task view? Even the most basic things through to more advanced capabilities, like, how do we do hacking STEM, where we are using, for example, Arduino boards with Excel to actually emulate human, fingers and hands. Here you'll see that there is a machine that has been built in the school that's connected to Arduino board that connects to Excel via USB to actually showcase how digits work, right? So these things are already been done for you. So we can go from the most basic things to the most advanced capabilities. So here, for example, we are teaching students how to create a robotic hand using basic materials that are available every day, and they can do it themselves. They can make it themselves, and then once they've created that, when they actually use their fingers, you'll see that it's actually reflected back in Excel. Now, this is where we are seeing the power of a Windows device, the power of Office, the power of IoT, and the power of all of the APIs that we make available, really becoming very, very powerful in teaching kids extremely complex yet in a very approachable manner. So they can actually get comfortable using this technology in their day-to-day world. So you'll see, like, you can then extend this for like games, like, you can play rock, scissors, papers, and so on and so forth. So these are simple examples, but really powerful ways of creating awareness of human and digital, so physical and digital technologies coming together. There are many such experiences that we make available, right? I mean, Hacking STEM is just one of those examples that I really love to really show, hey, we're not just about the simple PowerPoint and Excel stuff, but really getting into more powerful capabilities. Like, the lesson plans here are just amazing. I mean, even things like, even in Minecraft Education Edition, we have created entire, curriculums for you to use in the way that you can reimagine and get started with education. And there is classrooms for maths. There is classrooms for, if you go into the find resources, you'll find resources for pretty much anything, right? I mean, if you look at let's go back one page. You look at the lessons, you'll see lessons available for pretty much any and all subjects: science, language arts, computer science, arts and design, equity and inclusion, social and emotional, history and culture, so on and so forth. Like, it's just mind-blowing what this platform has really been designed to do and how you can leverage it in meaningful ways. By the way, we are seeing adoption across Asia where it's been then customized for each country. So we've got examples in New Zealand, examples in Australia, examples in Malaysia, even in Singapore, where we are now seeing entire, curriculum's been transformed using tools like Minecraft. Yeah, thanks for that, Siming, for a reminder. Please ask questions, because I can easily bore you all with a PowerPoint, or we can have an interactive conversation. I think everyone probably would prefer on Friday evening a interactive conversation than me going through and trying to impress you.
Because most of your contents are really, I mean, I'm always amazed how comprehensive Microsoft technology is well documented. And I think that the challenge is that sometimes when people look at it, it's too much, and you wouldn't know where to start, So I always come back to the dollar and cents, right? How can you embrace Microsoft technology to make your school into, to brand your school as a much more forward-thinking school, right? Everybody talks about hybrid, right? But what does it really, really mean in terms of your school, right? Now, after this pandemic, I don't think we're going to throw away our computers. I think a lot of things are still going to be hybrid. In fact, there are certain things where hybrid is even far more effective than just face-to-face. Like, for example, earlier, Dr. Dhoni was telling all his students are in China. He could have 10 times the amount of students attending his leadership course without having them to be physically in Malaysia. And that suddenly opens up your whole market. Press, you can do micro-credential and what have you. I would be interested to find out how, say, for example, universities can use LinkedIn for their alumni engagement.
Yeah, so you're bringing up some very, very good points. So let's just cover off a little bit about what M365 as a platform enables, right? So M365 as a platform is really designed to bring together three things. Number one, Office 365. Number 2 is Windows. Number 3 is the enterprise mobility and security capabilities, which is everything that you know about from a security and compliance perspective. But of course, we also add one more thing, which is education specific, and that 4th thing is actually Minecraft for education. So those four things, when they come together, create that platform. And for everyone's information, you can get started with all of this for free. So it's not like you have to do everything with a paid only version. You start with Office 365, and that gives you access to all the familiar tools in the cloud. So if you're familiar with that, you will get all of that. So if you really think about it, I've even created a workflow for you to decide whether you want to pay for it, or you want to be okay with the good enough with the free version. So typically when we talk to education institutions, when they talk to us, they'll say, hey, look, somebody has either experienced some other platform like a Google or Zoom or whatever, and they'll say, hey, that's for free, and that's great. So is Office 365 A1. And if you need device management, if you need security, if you need compliance, and if your answer is yes, then you are on a different path. If your answer is no, and then you come to a question where we say, hey, do you need full Office offline applications? If your answer is yes, then you would consider a paid version of Office 365. And if your answer is no to both these questions, then you are free to continue with the good option, which is O365A1. But if your answer to I need device management, security, and compliance is yes, and I hope it is, because I don't know if everybody on this call knows, during the pandemic, one thing that became very, very obvious was education became the most attacked industry in the world from a perspective of malware and ransomware. So we've seen a exponential increase because education institutions traditionally have not invested in cybersecurity and other network security and other mechanisms in the past. So they've become a very soft target with very rich data about end users, and they have a lot of data about end users. So from a hacker's perspective, an education institution is a very easy target where they can really reap a lot of rewards by selling that data onwards. So we really are encouraging all our education institutions to think about device management, security, and compliance. And if the answer to that is yes, then you need to be considering M365, A1, A3, A5. So even from a licensing perspective, we've thought this through to make sure that this is approachable for everybody, that this makes a lot of sense. And by the way, you probably have read about it, or if you haven't, try to understand what M365, A3, and A5 bring to you from a vendor consolidation perspective as well. So if you're a higher education institution that is going and spending on these disparate, disconnected tools and platforms, understand the cost of owning and running multiple platforms and the impact of having multiple platforms to manage on the security outcomes, on your security posture. So we really encourage you to think about wherever possible, consolidating them, reducing the number of. I think I heard earlier on in a call where hey, why are we introducing a drive sharing capability when OneDrive is already there? You may be using some other drive sharing and collaboration capability that is completely outside of M365, and it's completely okay. But at the same time, understand the impact of having that and the implications to managing, the implications to digital security, the implications to your IP being stolen, or your PDPA, which is your Personal Data Protection Act that is in countries like Singapore, really has an implication on how you run your infrastructure. So deciding here is a really a key thing for you to spend time on. Of course, we've talked a little bit about Teams and how Teams works. I won't get into the depths of it. Suffice to say, we have created Teams very specifically for education. From a show of hands or by chat, has everyone seen Teams for education? And if you haven't, I'm happy to jump out for a quick demo.
Yeah, for me personally, no. Yeah, but it's really nice features to see all this Windows 365.
Yeah, so let me just quickly take a little bit of time. So I'm not going to go into Windows 365. I'm going to get into Office 365 for education.
Yep.
So when you land here, I mean, I've logged in here as an admin. So I'm Bruno, the IT guy. I've logged here. This looks like Office 365 in the commercial space. You probably are familiar with this. But things dramatically change as soon as I go into Teams. When I go into Teams for education, it looks very, very different to Teams commercial because it has been designed with education in mind. So here, for example, I've got my classroom, I've got my science department, professional learning community, I've got my women in computer club maybe, I've got my, so when I create or join or create a new team in Teams for Education, it doesn't just create a team, it asks you, what kind of team do you want? Do you want a class team where you can do discussions, group project, assignments, PLCs for educator working groups, staff teams for school administration, or others for clubs, study groups, and other school activities, right? So this is a big difference between how commercial teams works and how education teams works.
For everyone else, is others.
Yeah, well, for everybody else, you actually don't even get this. You don't even get
others.
Yeah. So, like for example, if I show you my Microsoft Teams, which is on Microsoft.com, my work email address, right? If I go to Teams or Microsoft.com, I don't even get that option, right? If I try to create a new team, and this is a commercial version of Office 365, it won't even give me that, which is what is fascinating about the way we do things, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. I find that the education is so pampered. It
is. So if you look at this is my commercial version, right? So if I click on create teams, it says from scratch or from group or team. That's it. But now they are creating more of these templates that are coming up. So you think about it, we actually had the concept of templates in education way before Teams got the concept of team templates. So we had
the OneNote for Teams is just awesome.
Correct. Let me show you that in a minute. So if we go into engineering as an example, you'll see we can do everything that you normally expect from Teams, which is all the chat and announcements and praise and all these sort of things, which is great, right? But you'll notice that every one of these now has, and under engineering, you'll notice that we have a class notebook. So each of this environment has a class notebook where we can actually share data, we can collaborate together, and we can have a one-on-one kind of teacher to student relationship in the OneNote. So here, for example, you'll see collaboration space. Everyone can come and use the collaboration space, right? So the teachers and the students can collaborate. But if I go into the content library, the teachers can edit the content library, but the students cannot because it's a content library. It's not meant for the students to edit. So, for example, if I had under the content library, I had student resources. So these things the teacher can edit, but the students cannot. Now, the last thing we do is we also have a per student area. So Adele, Al, Alex, Ashley, all of them have their own sections within this notebook. And we've created permissioning so that only Adele, when she logs in, gets to see her section. When Al logs in, they get to see their own section. So as students, they're not able to see each other's sections, but as a teacher, I'm able to see everybody's section, which is no different to how you would do things in the real world with a notebook.
Actually, you can't even do that in a notebook because what you get here is the annotation made by the students. So if students are having trouble, they will make their own annotations. And in the real world, you have to ask you, bring your notebook, show me your notebook. You won't be able to do it. You can do this at your own time. Yeah. This is a really cool feature.
Yeah, exactly. So I think what you're saying there is absolutely right, because one thing that, just by introducing class notebook into schools, we've had feedback from schools in Singapore that have told us that they're saving 6 hours a week in collecting and distributing paper. Imagine a teacher having to photocopy assignment, hand it over.
Not to mention the trees.
Of course, the sustainability impact is huge. right? And not only that, it's also the impact to searchability, discoverability is huge. So these are things that we really want to take into account when we're doing all this. Beyond class notebook, I know we're running out of time here as well, Afif, so I'm conscious of that. So I just wanted to highlight a couple of things. We have designed assignments as a workflow. Now, yes, a lot of times when I show this to a lot of customers, they'll say, hey, I already have an LMS. Fine, if you have an LMS, use it. If you don't have an LMS, leverage this. You can have a hybrid between LMS and Teams as a workflow tool. There are many ways to do this. So we're not trying to tell you to rip and replace. We will also integrate with your other tools as well. So we're not trying to tell you at any means. So if you have got a Moodle or a Blackboard or whatever else you may have invested in, continue using it. And when appropriate, and if you feel that this is going to be able to do things for you, happy for you to use it. Because again, remember what I said at the beginning, wherever possible, we want to consolidate and minimize points of entry, digital identities, and all those sort of things. So we can create quizzes from well within in the platform itself, right? So we can add questions and things like that. So I won't go get into all of this detail today, but we can do very powerful things. Of course, we can do Office for Office 365 for education. Office 365 for education is separate way of getting things. So it's only available for. Just give me 1 second. So if you do a search for this, you'll see here we have education plans for Office 365.
Oh, nice.
Right, and you can get started for free, as I said earlier, right? And then you'll get Teams for education as part of it. You'll also get school data sync as part of it.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, and you'll get access to Office online. So if you click on this, get started for free, it will ask you questions and you can sign up as a. So when you click on this, it'll include the A1 faculty trial for free. So if you remember, I showed you a slide earlier about which version of Office you should consider.
Yeah.
So you get started with Office 365 A1. And then depending on what your needs are, you would then move from Office 365 A1 towards M365 A3 or A5. Look, I'll be honest with you, most customers start here and they stay here for a long time until they realize that they do require security and compliance and other things, which they end up going to other third-party tools, right? Then they go and buy a whatever cybersecurity solution from third party. Then they buy a compliance tool from another person. Then they go and buy data analytics from some other vendor, and so on and so forth. What we are trying to do is put that into one platform.
No, it's really nice. It's like how the Microsoft is, trying to change the education.
Thank you. No, it really gives me a lot of joy to kind of talk to customers about all of this and get them to realize that, and by the way, I don't know if you know this, when you're an education institution, even the base license for Windows 10 is much more affordable. So when you buy in bulk commercial devices that are designed for education, we have Shape the Future license for devices and their operating system as well. So when you buy a education device from a Dell, HP, Lenovo, or any other third-party provider of devices, we also discount the underlying Windows license.
Oh, nice.
So it makes for the right experience that you need for education. That's what we are trying to do here. And that's done through this program called Shape the Future. If you're not aware about it, do a search. The deck will be available later on, then you can actually go through all of this.
Yeah, that will be really helpful for actually everyone. Means for me, being Azure MVP, I was not sure on the education platform before, and it's really makes me exciting. After hearing of all of your session, yeah, it's really nice, and I'm really happy to host your session. And maybe if we have a session next year in physical, we'll be happy to host a physical event for you.
Of course, it'll be my pleasure to always do that. So let me know the feedback from this event and how we can actually make sure that we can make this better for you guys and more relevant. Today was just a very high-level overview. We can talk about individual areas and other things as and when needed.
Thank you, Amit. Thank you so much for a really
pleasure.
Wonderful session and very useful for everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your Friday, and I'll stay on for a couple little bit
Yes.
longer if anybody has any questions.
My
You guys,
next
you have
guest is still not responding yet. So yeah, but I've always felt that the problem with Microsoft is that you have a platform and you have a tool. So a lot of people in the school do not have the understanding of how technology makes sense in a way that they will be able to find out, hey, how do I adopt a platform? How do I do a school? Like, for example, I have not seen a single school who have used the data sync, which is the most important function. Otherwise, I know of a university where they have 5 guys whose job is to make sure the AD synchronizes with their student records.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree there. I think that is a very good question. So, in fact, we've just recently started. Well, we are seeing adoption of school data sync in countries like Vietnam, in countries like Australia, New Zealand, and Malaysia. We recently started seeing adoption of that happening in Singapore during the pandemic. So I'm encouraged by that. Look, I'll be honest, a lot of the times, keeping the lights on is such a big responsibility for education IT teams that to explore the other options beyond that becomes quite arduous. Unless they are exposed through events like this or through their own research that they do, it's very unlikely they're going to be spending time to investigate all of the capabilities of the platform. So we really like, this sort of platforms, this sort of forums that you've created here with aMS and others to spread and amplify this message. And I'll be honest, this is not our intention here is not to make this into we are a Google school or we are a Microsoft school or we are Apple school. At the end of the day, you're a school. And if that means that you can leverage tools from all 3 or 4 big tech companies, so be it. If you see the value in our platform, we would like to show you that and show you where their capabilities kind of meet and exceed your requirements. And if they don't, then we want to know so that we can make our platform better for you as well. So that's really the opportunity to kind of influence this. So we are educator driven in the way we think about our feature sets as well. So it's not just about us dreaming up these capabilities, but really being driven by the user community. So at any stage,
I see one interesting question, which is my institution have A3 and A1. Would we need to upgrade?
Good question. So there are capabilities in the A5 platform which will go above and beyond just what has been provided out of the box with M365 A3, right? So A3 is a great place to be, but there are always capabilities that will continue to innovate and put into the M365 A5 platform. And here is a quick summary of that. So advanced threat protection, threat intelligence, enterprise mobility suite, Azure Directory Premium, information protection premium 2, cloud app security, Azure advanced threat protection, and the Defender advanced threat protection is all built into the A5 platform. So realistically, when we are talking about more of that advanced capability beyond just the introduction, I suppose, to security compliance, A5 really builds on top of that and goes beyond the capabilities of A3. And if you want to have a detailed conversation about that, would love to understand your current investment in A3 and what you're leveraging and how we can help you think through how A5 can add value. Because we definitely have tool sets that are designed to help you understand the benefits of moving to A5. And in fact, a lot of the higher education institutions now in Singapore have moved to A5. We just also have seen education ministries now adopt A5 because it's allowing them to also consolidate other vendors and reduce their TCO, and the total economic impact of moving to A5 is proving to be very, very good. Hope that addresses, and I don't think I can address specific questions about your environment. Would love to kind of.
How is the momentum of Imagine Academy in Asia?
So that's a good question. In fact, we've just, we've expanded the Imagine world to now also have Imagine Kids, right? Imagine Cup for Kids. It's actually quite buoyant across Asia, right? I mean, if I look at countries, Vietnam, Malaysia, Thailand, India, Indonesia are extremely, engaged in that space. I would love to kind of, collaborate more with the rest of the countries as well to see where we can actually make this more meaningful. Like we've got even in countries like Indonesia, we're running local versions of the Imagine Cups because it's so popular.
No, I'm referring to the Imagine Academy.
That's retired. That's retired. That's retired.
So, there's no more Imagine Academy.
No. Imagine Academy is now Learn. So you go to learn.microsoft.com.
Oh, okay. So the you mean the certification is all gone? That part of it where you
all of that is now available through Learn.
Oh, okay.
Learn is the platform.
And you still have to sign up with Microsoft to be able to administer the Learn, or what? Or this is
so you can either do it. There are two ways of doing Learn. Learn you can do either as an individual and log in using your individual. But Learn also has this capability called institution reporting. So Microsoft Learn has this thing called institution reporting, where if all the people in the institution log in with their O365 account and they log in, they'll be able to do reporting on who's done what course. So if they want to see reports on, hey, you know what? I want to see of all the courses that have been assigned to a particular person, how many of them have actually completed a particular course. You can see all of that data. So it's actually quite good in terms of being able to not just see or assign CA. You can see organization reporting. You can see who's completed. So module completion by product, by learning path, and things like that. So it's quite a powerful way for you to assess your usage of the Learn platform.
Oh, okay. Because previously,
all of this was Imagine Academy. You're right.
Yes. So
yes, that has migrated to Learn.
Okay. How about integration between LinkedIn and Microsoft Learn? Will the micro credential that you take be automatically recognized in LinkedIn?
I can't answer that. I don't know. No. Because the Learn team is a separate team. But if you need me to answer that, I can follow it up.
Okay.
Right now, I'm not aware of any micro-credentialing between Learn and LinkedIn. What I can tell you is if you're a school that is really looking at career coaching and driving, that integration, what we've done recently is launch this product called Career Coach, which is personalized guidance, career guidance using Career Coach.
It
does, it actually looks at all the jobs available in the country for particular, and then you can actually have your kids understand their learning paths to actually meet those. So Career Coach, there's a demo for this, which allows you to kind of think through how students can learn using the content available in their institution and how it matches up to the skills required by jobs in the country.
Okay. No hurry. Our second speaker, which is going to be talking about the Azure Lab services, is still not to be found. Anyone have any more questions? We have. I mean, I would love to have a conversation with you because I think you have such a big portfolio. It's really hard to get under the thing. What I always wanted to do was to really get a school who had thoroughly adopted the technology and to really showcase how they use it within their own environment. I find that most of the schools have just either used one or the other, but let's say, for example, I've not seen a school which have taken on to all the 4 pillars within your transformation framework. Yeah, so that's a good one because we do have them. So we do have the education transformation. This is the showcase schools. And the showcase schools are designed to actually go and, they have actually adopted lots of the components of the ETA.
right? So if you go through these case studies, you'll learn a lot about it. The other thing that might be useful for you is,
well, unfortunately, the showcase school is only for K-12.
yes.
So
Yes.
there are a lot of people here who are in the university where there's a bigger bucks.
Understand.
Yeah.
Understand. So let me, I'll just understand that. Let me just bring up, I'm just bringing up this link.
Oh, please share the link for the career coach. Yeah. Onto
The career
chat.
coach?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
This one?
Yeah. Because Miss Tan Lee, I think, is interested in that area. Yeah. Hey, folks, if you have any questions, let's not waste Amit's time, you know. It's a rare opportunity to get him. If you have any burning question, please ask, you know.
Yes. Happy to answer whatever I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. There was a question.
No, I think I was just looking for if anyone have any questions in the chat box.
I'm surprised folks are silent, because usually I'll always get one or two questions about
No, I think it was really interesting session.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Sorry, sorry. One more thing you may want to think about this is like this. We do have a journey slide.
Oh, you do? Okay.
So we have this thing called the Edu Journey. So if a school wants to know where they are in this journey, we've actually created this whole journey through a. Here it is. I don't know why this page is taking. Here we are. So the education journey site has been designed so that you can go and answer questions. And by the way, Rico, to your question earlier, this is the three areas that we are actually focused on, from K-12, higher ed, and libraries and museums. So if you want to know where you are in the higher education transformation journey, you can click on this. And yeah, by the way, education and Microsoft doesn't just cover K-12 and higher ed, also covers libraries and museums. And by the way, every university has a library or a museum.
So for those who are coming in to listen to the next guy, I have a bad news to bring. Vincent, you want to tell us?
Yeah, I just called in. He hasn't connected, and I called in up, and he told me that in Bangladesh there is internet outage. Right, so he's not able to get the bandwidth to connect. So we are trying to see whether they're saying that the time of resolution could be this evening for them. So I'm just chatting with him to see whether we want to schedule it, because we do have a late slot tomorrow, 4 to 5. Right. Once maybe we have some confirmation, then we'll probably send out email, right, to let everyone know and see whether there will be any interest to attend a slot at 4 to 5 tomorrow. But we will advise everyone later once we sort of work this out. But unfortunately, the next session, that's the nature of online events, right? So if the speaker can't connect, nothing much else that we can do.
Amit, do you have interesting thing to share about HoloLens for education?
Actually, this is one of those areas that is, funny, because is mixed reality the conversation, or is HoloLens the conversation? Because sometimes those get mixed up. Is mixed reality does not always equate to being a HoloLens conversation. Of course, HoloLens has a very, unique value proposition when it comes to education, especially for folks who are learning with, equipment that needs specialized instructions. So you've seen examples of being able to do remote troubleshooting of cars or equipment that needs specialized knowledge. Field engineers going on top of mobile towers that need to be able to have access to those deep technical engineering expertise and things like that. And of course, HoloLens has been used in the context of medical teaching and other things as well. I believe that HoloLens has a great application, but it's not the only way to partake in mixed reality. So mixed reality is something that we really want to, encourage our folks to kind of think about when it comes to what's happening in the virtual reality space or even the mixed reality with devices. So even your current laptop can do mixed reality in different ways, right? So we want to encourage you to kind of start with that. We have, of course, now got this alt space VR that's coming through, and other, with mesh coming through on the HoloLens, and also on your laptop, extending the capabilities of Teams in the future. I think those are really exciting areas. But right now, to be honest, I think a lot of what we spend our time on is getting customers to understand those use case scenarios and the type of devices they need to have. The good news is, our mixed reality solution is quite comprehensive, from the current devices through to future devices like HoloLenses and others from our third-party vendors as well. So I feel good about that. If you asked me 3 years ago, there was a lot more interest in getting and going and investing into the mixed reality with HoloLens, and we did with different degrees of success, because it does need a lot of ground-up alignment of the curriculum and the content and the pedagogy process to the way that the tools are designed to work. You're really literally redesigning the space in which you are teaching as well. It can't be done over, just in a standard classroom environment.
Rico,
Yes.
I just talked to Nakib, for our audience here who's staying on or who join for Nakib's session. We are rescheduling it to 4 to 5 p.m. Tomorrow evening. Because we do have, I think we do have a time slot for that. And it's unfortunate that internet is down, right? So for those of you who are interested, please come tomorrow, same education channel, 4 to 5 p.m. Right, for Nakib slot.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I think for 3 p.m. slot will be same as continue on time.
Yeah, because tomorrow 3 p.m. is next generation of remote learning with Microsoft Teams, right? So Nakib will continue at 4 tomorrow, right? Covering Azure Lab Services, which I'm sure many of you might be quite interested, because it's a topic that not that many people talk about.
There was a question about pens, pointing device. The pen device. Is Microsoft doing any work around the area?
Absolutely. So one of the areas that I talked about a little bit earlier is this whole concept of think with ink. Mm-hmm. Right? Think with ink is studies that we've done with third-party people who are experts in this field of learning and the way we do things, and why they're better when we use devices like ink-enabled devices, why this is actually a good thing, right? Now, how do you get organized with it? How do you collaborate? And there is science behind it. It's not just, so if you actually note here, 88% teachers increase the quality of instruction by just using ink-enabled devices. That's massive. Right? Teachers saving time. And this is based on real world experiences. So this is an IDC report that talks about it. So if you click on this link, you'll go there and you'll see links to the IDC studies and others that talk about why using ink is a good idea. So I think the answer to that is absolutely yes. You've noticed that we have evolved even for our first party devices, we've evolved our inking capabilities, not just in the platform, but also in our devices as well, with the latest iteration of the devices also getting flatter device, inking devices in the Surface range as well. So I think that is testament to the fact that we continue to believe in it. And I personally absolutely believe in it. Even the phone I use is a Samsung Note 10 only because it has inking capability. My device always has ink. I don't buy a device without ink. That's my personal belief in trying to prove out what is being talked about through the research.
So you think?
Sorry, go ahead.
So do you think all teachers should be given an ink device or ink-ready device?
So the Amit Pawar answer is yes. The Microsoft answer is, it obviously comes down to a choice from a affordability as well as availability perspective, right? I think that has to be managed, because anytime we introduce new capabilities like inking, it does add to the bill of materials cost for the device. So we need to be aware of that. But at the same time, be aware that what is the impact of all of these things to the learning outcomes. And that can sometimes be hard to quantify in dollars and cents.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do we have any more questions? Oh, the free version for Teams for higher education is A1. The free one is always A1.
Yes.
That's right. In fact, you can do a lot with A1.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, the starting point for A1 is amazing. So you can easily get started with this. Go and learn more about this from the website and see how you can start adopting it. If you have any questions, you can always go and ask the support for it, and then they can get you started on it.
You can have a combination of A1, A3s, and A5 for different people. And that's a very interesting thing. So for people who are handling more sensitive information, especially those who are handling students' data and those who are handling finances, you might want to upgrade those, a combination of some of these people to A5, right? Because they have better security. But I would imagine the biggest differentiation between all these different plans is actually all about security and compliance. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was a question by Mr. Ho so we do cover all education institutions. It's not just the government versus private. We cover both government and private institutions. So there's everything that I showed you today is available to private schools, international schools, private colleges, vocational colleges, as well as obviously government colleges, universities, and schools. So there's no.
I think the caveat would be that you have to be a registered educational institution with Ministry of Education. So the easiest to find out is whether you have edu domain name.
No, Vincent. That's not. Yep. That's not how it works. The way it works, it's not about the .edu or .com. It's about whether you are whether you would qualify. So there is a site here. You'll see here programs for education institutions. So under this site, we would have this eligibility criteria called qualified education user definition. So this is how we verify whether you are an education institution or not. Right. So we would go in here and based on the licensing, the licensing product terms, we would make sure that you meet our requirement for that. So I'm happy to put in this page link so that you understand whoever is interested understands it, because there are many education institutions that have a .com, .org, .edu, .ac, whatever, right? There are so many. But yeah, you're right, Vincent. It's the easiest way for us to verify if you're a .edu, because to get a .edu, you need to go to MOE to get a .edu website anyway. So
then they will vet through you based on quite a similar set of criteria.
Correct. So it's not, but just to make sure that we're not creating any confusion about if you're an education institution, you absolutely need a .com or .edu. That's not the requirement. The requirement is listed on our site.
So for all those who are joining us to look at the cloud, the school, I have to let you know that Bangladesh is having some internet connectivity, and we are unable to do this track. So we are just having a good time to talk to Amit and question with Amit while he's filling up. Now, for all those who want to learn something, we are the 2 to 3. We have a great talk by Agnes on search. And we will also, under the business track and under the IT Pro, we have about approvers. And yeah, so.
And the Azure Labs is shifted to tomorrow 4
o'clock. That's right.
Yeah. 4 to 5, right? So do attend that because that is very exciting. If you're running hybrid, how are you going to run, right, your computer labs, right, if the student is not physically present on campus? So, yeah. So postpone to tomorrow 4 to 5 for Azure Labs.
So Amit, thank you so much, and I hope we are not holding you from lunch, and you have been very gracious to spend so much time with us. Yeah,
of course. No, this is, like I said, I get energy from interacting with people. So anytime we get to do this, lunch, coffee, all that goes out of the window. Yeah.
And we, as aMS, we really believe the important thing of interactivity. That's why we only do live. I go to there are so many Zoom fatigue simply because everybody is pre-recorded. There's no spontaneity. You know what I mean? If I want to watch a recording, I would go to YouTube.
Yeah, so there was a question from Mr. Ho, right? The earlier session that was cancelled, would there be a replacement? Unfortunately not, because the speaker from Italy had a death in the family, right? So I don't think it's right for us to also ask him to speak tomorrow. So that session, I think we are not able to conduct, right? Okay, the one that we can do is the Azure Labs for tomorrow.
So for anyone who have other questions, burning question you want to ask about education, I think we can still squeeze a few more answers from Amit.
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to fill up the time because I know you've got till 3 o'clock. So.
Oh, you want to show us your drum capability?
Hey, by the way, there is music mode coming to Teams. You know that, right?
No, what's that?
So what has happened is there's a lot of people who've been asking us for music performance for schools. So schools who teach music, right? So you want to do a violin exam over the internet. You can't do that today because our codec is not optimized for music, right? The codec is optimized for voice. So we are introducing, for education institutions, we're going to be introducing a music mode soon.
Yeah, well, we found that if you turn off the noise suppression, it actually sounds not too bad.
Correct, but still not optimized for the full dynamic range of a drum or for violin or cello or flute, because there are sometimes when it actually goes low, you can't play music at the same volume. Right?
Yeah, you probably cut off the high and lows. Yeah.
Correct. And the dynamic range is also important because sometimes you play loudly, sometimes you play softly. And so yes, there is direct linkage between my hobby of music and my profession of Teams as well. So that capability coming soon.
There's a question from Lotus.
On e-proctoring, can Teams be used for e-proctoring?
Yeah, so that's a good question, Lotus. I think that yes, you can, because we've actually seen a combination of take a test and Teams coming together. In fact, we just did a test the other day with a school here in Singapore. It's not designed directly with e-proctoring in mind, but you have to look at take a test. If you haven't heard of take a test, it's a capability that's built into Windows 10.
Oh.
So take a test allows you to basically it shuts everything down except for that browser window. So it's like a very temporary kiosk mode.
Oh, take a test. Okay.
That's it's possible. So when we have a combination of take a test plus what do you call it, Teams, Teams is much more for looking at the screen or for the person's interaction, whether they are using a secondary device or whatever. Then we use Teams for that. But if you're looking for a full-blown e-proctoring solution, there are third-party add-ons or third-party solutions that do that as well. But yeah, take a test.
So there's a question from Mr. Ho, right? Can Teams be used for, say, YouTube Live, Facebook Live? Yes, of course.
Of course.
Right? Of course. I mean, many have done it, right? You basically take the Teams output and you stream it to Facebook Live, but you do need some additional you do need some additional tools, right? For example, like OBS.
Yeah, we usually do that for our daily monthly meetups and for Teams and via YouTube. So with OBS. So
So
and also for engagement purposes, there is the webinar capability that's built into Teams. So it would depend on how big your event is going to be.
Yeah, and where your audience resides. So yes.
Correct. Yeah. So if you're looking at that, yes, you should absolutely have a look at the webinar capabilities.
Yep. So I posted the virtual event guidance playbook, right? So
yes,
like there's huge amount of tips and tricks if you want to experiment and try with it.
Yeah, agreed. So it's kind of a long way since we started the pandemic, right? I mean, I remember being in a room where we were fighting about the 49 7x7 screen because Zoom had it, and everyone was so excited about having the 7x7 screen, and I was like, how long can you stare at a 7x7 screen? I challenge any teacher to look at a 7x7 screen for more than 5 minutes and not get fatigued, because it's impossible for you to do that. And in fact, we actually did the together mode because of that, because there is this cognitive load on your brain when you try to differentiate the moving face and try to differentiate it with the background behind you. And when you only have a face, you don't have much. Your brain tries to focus on everybody's eyes, not just the face. And when you try to do that for 49 people on a small laptop screen, your brain explodes. You cannot do it. So we've done that level of studies to understand the impact of the cognitive load on using things like, so even the simple thing like Teams in together mode is a fantastic experience for educators, and they should consider looking at that. Has everyone seen Teams in together mode?
We tried for few events, but yeah, it's like.
So is everybody on? Yeah, there you go. It's only 3 of us right now.
Yeah.
I think
we had some feedback from trainers that say that it's more natural for them, and they find they find because when you're speaking to a blank screen, you lose the response energy, right? That makes the engagement more fun. So we do have feedback on trainers when they switch to together mode and everybody's cameras on, they sort of at least feel some of the energy back from the audience. So
I
it's quite cool.
agree. I absolutely agree. And the fact that now we have these customizable modes, it makes it even more fun, right? Because previously we didn't have any of this. So you can do immersive together mode as well.
Okay.
So anyway, this is just.
So can you ask your development team to make one for a symphony?
Like this one. So by the way, you can create your own.
Oh wow! Okay.
You can create your own. There is a tool now available for you to create your own Teams background.
Oh, okay.
Together mode. You can absolutely do it yourself.
Okay, I want to do one in a bed.
You can. Yeah, you can.
Fun stuff.
Yes. Yeah, so there is this thing called, so if you go to see this custom together mode scenes in Teams, so you can actually go and download your image and you can put them around and move people around, and if you've got your own image and you can put participants in different spaces.
Oh, okay. So you just kind of let them know where you are.
Yes, yeah. So there's a
Wow.
tool. So there's a tool for you to do this. It's called the custom together more scenes.
Okay.
So you can, yeah, if you really are interested in doing that, you can create your own.
Okay. Something fun to do for a while. Oh well, it looks like it's one of those days. I volunteered to moderate for the education, and today we already have one death, and then we have one whole country which have lost their internet. So,
But this talks about the challenges education goes through every day. This is nothing new, right? I mean, this is going to happen in every day.
yes.
How do you keep everybody engaged in this kind of a difficult time? It's very.
That is true. Tomorrow I'll be talking about my favorite toy, which is Sway. And I feel that a lot of people are not using that. I'll be showcasing how to use Sway to build resume. And the idea is not only to be able to create a document, but to be able to read into your potential employer to see how much time they spend looking at your material and if they have forwarded it and stuff like that. So it's gonna be kind of fun. I use Sway a lot simply because I find that as a person who share content, I get energy from that response. That's very important to me. Without that, it would be
We use Sway all the time as well, Rico. Even our teams, when we do our updates internally, they'll go through all of these and they'll create massive sways. Like these are massive sways, all full of content. But you'll learn tomorrow more about it. But just to let you know that, even within Microsoft, we are very, even though we have PowerPoint and other things, Sway is a great way for us to relay a lot of information.
I have a few great ideas. I have a few ideas for Sway because it's really wreaking a lot of readership. If you can know exactly how one person spent on that would be used for fantastic function in terms of a learning environment. Yeah. Because knowing how people spend time makes all the difference.
Yes. Good. This has been amazing. Really good afternoon for me to connect with all of you. And if there are any questions later on, please feel free to connect with me.
Yeah.
Appreciate the opportunity. And I know you guys had a lot of amazing content from many other speakers. So I feel privileged to have the honor to have this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amit. It was really nice afternoon for us, and the opportunity to learn a lot of things from you. I think
that's great. We all learn together every day.
Yeah. Guys,
Thank you, Amit. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. With that, I'll probably take leave and we'll talk soon.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.